straight in the camera and say, oh, Sweden is just the best sister. She's the prettiest one out of all of us. Sweden is just the best sister. She's the prettiest out of all of us. Yes.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my sister my daughter's outgrown baby clothes? So some backstory on both of us. I'm 23 and currently 26 weeks pregnant with baby number 2, a boy. My sister, who we will call Sally, is 28 and is about 20 weeks pregnant with baby number 5, her first girl. I am a married stay-at-home mom. We are technically low income, but are comfortable and have savings. All this to say, we aren't necessarily financially sound, but we don't go without any needs or many wants. My sister is going on 5 kids, has a track record of choosing awful men, makes very poor life and financial decisions, never has any money for anything. And our family members have her kids in their care more than she does. Our family members also foot most of her bills, including previously providing money for diapers, formula, cars, gas, and so on. My mother asks me if Sally had reached out to me yet. I said no and asked why. My mom said that Sally is having a hard time, that her boyfriend had run off again, she lost her job, needs a bigger car for the kids, needs baby stuff as she has nothing for the upcoming baby. My mom told Sally to call me so I could pack up some of my 2-year-old daughter's old baby items to give to her. I told my mom that I didn't have much to give her, and reminded her that I am also expecting a baby. I told her I plan on sorting through our old newborn clothes to sell to the child's resale store to get credit back, so I can buy my upcoming son some clothes. As I really don't see the need in buying brand new baby clothes, and it would help us save some money this way. I mentioned that we were also reusing my infant seat from 2 years ago, as well as the crib, bottles, and just about anything else that I held on to. My mother told me that I was selfish for not handing over any of our stuff, because we have the means to purchase our son new items, where Sally does not. She tells me that Sally isn't as fortunate as I am because she doesn't have a good man in her life to provide for them. She just needs a little help. I told my mom that it is not my fault that Sally has made poor life decisions, nor is it my obligation to help her provide for the children she continues to have but cannot properly care for. I told her that I am not willing to continue to enable her poor decisions, especially when it will affect my family, but if the rest of the family wants to, then to go ahead. My mom has since spoke with Sally and our grandmother and told them my responses. I now have 3 very upset people hounding me, telling me how selfish and rude I am, and demanding that I help my sister out because family helps family. I am now being told that if I am refusing to give her any of our old items, then I should at least be willing to put forth an effort to buy or find her some items and clothes that she needs. Am I the a-hole here? Am I the a-hole for purposefully booking the same wedding venue as my sister, but earlier so I could get married there first? I can admit that my viewpoint is pretty one-sided, but my actions have divided my family, so I figured I could get some outside perspective. My sister and I don't get along. I can be honest and admit that she's much prettier than me, and that's something she's never let me forget. Both of my parents are pretty shallow, and they've always given her the best and put her first. That is, if we both had a school event at the same time, they'd both go to hers. This has left me pretty bitter and distant from my family. My boyfriend of 5 years recently proposed, and I was super over the moon. And straight out of a bad rom-com script, my sister got engaged right afterwards. It didn't really faze me other than serve as a slight nuisance since my parents were more happy and involved with her engagement. My mom's been helping her plan, but couldn't help me because my sister needed more help and she couldn't devote me the time I deserved. Don't feel bad for me though, because my mother-in-law is a godsend, super sweet, and genuinely treats me with so much love. Anyway, what really pushed me over the edge was when my sister told me that she booked her wedding at my dream venue. I know it sounds so annoying and cheesy, but I really cared about this location. It was sentimental to me. My grandparents got married there, and I've talked about wanting to get married there as far back as high school when I was just daydreaming. I swear to God, my sister doesn't give a F about my grandparents, but when I brought it up, my parents told me to stop being so petty. In a fit of actual pettiness, I ended up booking the same venue a month before my sister's wedding. I checked with the venue, and there's no way my sister can move the wedding up. they're booked up, and if she changes venues, she'll lose her deposit. My mother recently reached out to me and implored me to talk to my sister. I had blocked her after the first call, where she tried to ream me out. Apparently, my sister is really distraught, and my mom said the least I could do was try and work something out with my sister, especially over such a huge event. I said no, but my mom said I was an a-hole for not even trying to hear her out and for being so stubborn and petty. I know my mom is biased, but it got me thinking because I've been pretty staunch about ignoring her calls, and some of my cousins have told me that she seems genuinely upset. I'm not sure whether or not I was right or if I am being a giant a-hole by being so stubborn. I, 29F, have two sisters, Jess, 32F, and Lena, 34F. Jess and Lena used to live in the same small town, about 12 hours away from me, my brother, and our parents. Then Jess moved here, for better job opportunities and for more help with my 12-year-old niece, Amy. Jess hasn't even been in town for 3 months yet, and last week she went and dropped the terrible FN bombshell on us. Jess spent a year FN Lena's husband, Jeff, and they even had a miscarriage together in that time. Lena has absolutely no idea. Jess brought me, my parents, my husband, and my brother involuntarily into her bleep show by just breaking down and dumping this all on us in tears after sending Amy off to play. Apparently she was too guilty to live with herself without getting it off her chest somehow. I have half a mind to tell her she should have just smothered then. The family is going nuts trying to decide what to do now. We urged Jess to come clean herself to Lena, but she has flatly refused, saying that Lena is her best friend, and she loves her too much to lose her friendship, and also that she feels it will break Lena's heart and destroy her family. Lena and Jeff have 4 kids together, my nieces and nephews ranging in age from 18 to 10. A big part of me feels like Lena deserves to know, no matter what. But 2 things are really giving me pause: the kids and Lena's feelings. The kids love their dad, love their house, love their land. They'd be ripped away from all of those things in a divorce, would they not? And I worry a lot about how Lena would cope if she knew. She's been such a devoted wife to Jeff, and she does consider Jess to be her best friend. It feels cruel to shatter her reality like that. Jess is pretty much dead to me over this. So is Jeff. I don't know what to do, and I'm very torn. I just want to do what's best for Lena and the kids. Should I speak up, since Jess won't, or no? I know infidelity is a sore subject when it comes to whether or not to speak up. I need help. Update. I'm really appreciative of everyone who gave their perspective and advice. The folks who'd been cheated on personally were especially eye-opening. I'd asked myself 100 times in the past week whether I should tell Lena just because I would want to know if it were me. Lena is honestly the most forgiving and timid of the 3 of us. Always has been. And when we were growing up, she'd get called a doormat. And I've always been the angry, intense one. I would definitely want to know, but a part of me truly worries that Lena won't thank us for this. It was the overwhelming response that showed me there's likely only one right answer, as painful as it's going to be. Especially what pushed me to deciding was 2 things. I don't want to be seen as siding with Jess instead of Lena, in Lena's eyes. When she finds out, I want it to be from people who love her, instead of her feeling betrayed, thinking she has no one on her side. And second, the people pointing out that she's currently potentially vulnerable to STDs. I know my asshole sister is clean, but I don't know about Jeff, and honestly, I've been so shocked over the situation that it hadn't occurred to me that he might be an even bigger piece of crap and could be sleeping with other people. That was the final push. I don't want to hurt Lena, but I'd rather she never talk to me again than hold her hand. After a herpes diagnosis or cervical cancer. F that. I'm meeting up with my parents and my brother on Sunday morning, and we're going to have a big talk about how to handle the situation. My dad isn't going to be happy because he's terrified of how the fallout will affect Lena and the kids when she knows. But ultimately, Lena being safe matters more. I'm going to lead with the suggestion of forcing Jess's hand and making her confess. This is her fault. We don't want to tip Jeff off so he can't try to weasel out with lies first. And honestly, the logistics of getting to Lena in person are gonna be hard, but we'll pool together and see what we can do. I'm definitely not suggesting the Zoom call. I know those suggestions were well-meaning, but if my family did that to me, I'd die of shame, so we're gonna pass on that. My goal is to have us make a plan where we deliver a watertight ultimatum with a short deadline to Jess and then focus on what we can possibly do for Lena once she knows. If Jess refuses to ball up by the deadline, it'll probably be me and my mom telling Lena, in which case, wish me luck. Thank you again for all the help. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she's a gold digger even if she's philanthropic? I 34F have a little sister 30F who is married to a wealthy businessman in our state. I am also married. Both my husband and I work blue-collar jobs. We have very different lifestyles. I personally don't feel comfortable relying on someone to do everything for me and am independent. She, on the other hand, relies on her man for everything and doesn't work at all. We aren't close and never have been for other reasons. She lives hours away and recently was in town for a charity event and was staying with me for a week. Immediately, she was rude and judgmental of the way our household runs. She told me it's sad that my 2 boys share a room and my husband has a game room for himself. I was shocked and told her that the boys are 4 and 2. They don't need their own huge fancy rooms and that the game room is half the size of a standard room. She had more to say about other things we did in the house, acting like she's so much better than me and feels bad for me and the kids. We grew up together in an extremely poor household. I don't understand why she was acting like we didn't experience way worse. She was rude her whole stay. My husband even told me she asked him why he doesn't cook or spend time with the boys after he just worked a 10-hour shift, coming from a lady with a live and nanny and chef. I was shocked and appalled by her attitude. I confronted her the next day about chastising my husband, and she said she did it because she felt bad that I did most of the work in the house, and he did barely anything. I told her she doesn't do anything. She doesn't work. She doesn't watch her kids. She doesn't clean or cook. All she does is shop and do charity events, and that my husband works more in a day's shift than she has in years and stop acting like she's better than us. She started playing the victim, crying, saying that she was standing up for me and that she just wants me to not feel burnt out. And I told her that I'm sure her husband wishes someone would do the same for him, since all she does is waste his money. This is when she starts acting all high and mighty. She has the nerve to say I'm jealous of her and that she doesn't waste money. She donates it, and she's worked with this and that organization, and she works and has a job. I laughed. I told her that her job is being a gold digger. Even if she does donate money, it's not hers, since she didn't make it. My husband heard and laughed, and she said if she's a gold digger, then my husband is a shitholer and that I'm the hole. She left and blocked me, saying I'm an asshole. She told our brother, and he says I'm an asshole since I judge my sister for not doing real work while my husband's only job is working. And I also work and do everything else, so technically if she's a freeloader, he's even worse. Am I the a-hole? She came into my house and insulted us. Am I the a-hole for ignoring my sister's wedding invite after she didn't come to my wedding? I, the 33F, and my now husband, 33M, had invited our wedding party years prior to the wedding. I asked my half-sister 37F to be my maid of honor. She excitedly said yes and immediately went out and picked out the dress and took it home. Then on the month of our wedding date, COVID hits, and of course everyone has to postpone any plans. We eventually rescheduled and set a new date for a year later, sent out new invites, new bridal party gifts, and prepared for the big day. My sister then reconnects with an old flame, and they immediately become serious. She abandons her recently purchased home, moves her kids and herself into his home, and begins talking endlessly about marriage when her divorce is final. We had discussions about what her new plans are since she had planned to stay with us in our home, and if her new man would be joining. She said that they both would be coming, but wanted alone time in a hotel. I understood and definitely didn't mind him coming. The wedding date quickly approaches. We get the final count of bridal party and guests, pay the venue, and excitedly wait. 2 days after giving the final count and 5 days before the wedding, I get a message from my sister saying they just looked at travel costs and won't be able to make it. I was understandably upset and sad, but I understood if she couldn't afford it, since she had originally planned to drive and changed her mind to flying. But the fact that she had so long to plan ahead made it upsetting. We had made any guests, including bridal party, aware that we couldn't pay for travel and understood if that meant they couldn't join us. The wedding goes down without any other issues. My side of the bridal party was one short, but there isn't time during a wedding to pee, eat, or drink, let alone worry about that. It was a beautiful day, and of course I was sad that she wasn't there. My husband and I get in the truck after the wedding ended, and he asked me.
Did you see your sister's post?
He then shows me her Facebook announcement of her and her new guy and the kids at a resort they had traveled to that day, and pictures of the wedding venue they visited and booked. So I wasn't truly upset until then. I made the decision to unfollow her posts for a while and tried not to stew on it. We got an invite in the mail with her apologies for missing our wedding, but she wanted to invite us to her wedding in 2 months' time. I ignored it. I haven't said anything to her. I'm pretty sure I threw the invite away. I feel some guilt and like I should be a bigger person than this, and there are, of course, different opinions from people about how this should be handled. But am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for not going to a family dinner at my sister's new restaurant because it would have supported my sister? I 27F am the second youngest in a family of 7. I have 2 brothers and 4 sisters. The restaurant is owned by my sister Daisy. 28F Daisy and I are both close to other members of our family. But she and I were never close, and she has been pretty awful to me over the years. She'd try to get our siblings to exclude me, and when they wouldn't, she'd say mean things to me. We shared a room until we were 18, and she made the experience miserable for me. She'd beg to get her own room, or say she wanted to share with another sister. But since we were close in age, our parents decided we needed to keep sharing. She'd ruin some of my things when she was trying to get our parents to separate us. She ignores me as an adult. I was the only person excluded from her 21st birthday party, from her college graduation, and so on. We see each other when we're at our parents', or if we have something going on in the family. Our younger brother has asked her in the past why she hates me so much, when she doesn't hate anyone else, and she told him I ruined her life. She didn't give more information, just I ruined her life. She said she wished Mom had aborted me, and she'd be happier. She also said she despised every second of sharing a room with me, and wished I could have been kidnapped to get me out of her hair. I heard this, and I was like, fine, you know what? I have 5 amazing siblings. 5 siblings is enough. Daisy and I aren't sisters. We're just 2 people who happen to share a family. I knew nothing about Daisy opening a restaurant until it was almost time. She told everyone else but me, of course. It was mentioned in passing in front of me, which is how I learned about it. But my parents wanted the family to support her, and decided we should all have a family dinner. There to do that, I refused to go. I said I was not supporting her. My parents told me I needed to go. Most of my siblings weren't surprised. One was kinda, but still agreed with me. They told our parents that it made 0 sense for me to be there, and Daisy would hate seeing me in her place anyway. Our parents were like family supports each other, and all kinds of crap. I ended up not going. 2 of my siblings left during dinner because things were being said about me not showing up. My parents said I should have put our differences aside and show Daisy what family does for each other. They told me she could have come around to me. Am I the a-hole?
Little sister gets a big helping of revenge. When I was about 12 years old, I'd borrowed my cousin's collector's set of Anne of Green Gables books. They were in mint condition, in a collector's box, and very expensive. I kept them on a shelf near my bed for easy access during my evening wind down time. That summer, I went to visit my father, who lives on the other end of the country. I was gone for a month and a half, and when I'd returned, the books were gone, and my room was a disaster. Being that I was gone for a long time, I assumed that my mother had given the books back to my cousin and had let my sister sleep in my room, something she did often, despite my complaints. Several weeks later, my cousin called asking for her books back. When I realized that they were missing, I scoured my room and found them under the bed. Every book was ripped, bent, and covered in ink. Someone had taken a Sharpie and written my name in backward, lopsided letters, phone number and address all over the books and the book box, along with stars, hearts and smiley faces. My mind went immediately to my younger sister, who had just learned to write my name, her name, and was learning to memorize our phone number and address at school. She was in 1st grade. When I confronted my parents about it, they accused me of vandalizing the books and lying to get my sister in trouble. I was grounded for a month, and my sister was off the hook, as they had tested her. The testing being that they got her to write what had been written on the box and see if the writing matched. She made sure it didn't. I was beyond furious, but rather than throw a fit about it, I decided to punish my sister in my own way. She always had a rather bad habit of chewing her nails, so that night while she was sleeping, I snuck into her room and sprayed all of her fingers with that spray you can buy to deter animals from chewing your cords. It tastes absolutely vile, supposedly, but is non-toxic to humans and pets. I began doing this every night so that when she woke up in the morning she would cry because her mouth tasted bad when she chewed her nails. I also coated her toothbrush in the stuff and occasionally her special cup that no one else was allowed to drink out of. This went on as long as my punishment did, and I don't think anyone ever caught on. I spent a year playing Baby Shark on repeat on my sister's Spotify, so it would be the #1 song on her Spotify Wrapped. My two sisters and I have a good thing going. We each pay for and share several streaming services. It's a great system that has enabled all of us to have access to most major streaming services for around $20 a month each. Last December, my younger sister was upset that one of her top songs on Spotify was a song that I like and listen to a lot. She brought it up with me and essentially told me to stop listening to Spotify so much because it was technically her account and she didn't want my songs to appear in her Spotify Wrapped. I told her that is not how our system works and if she wanted to back out, she could. Otherwise, I am free to use it as much as I want because I pay for it, too. She wasn't upset enough to back out of our agreement, but she did make a point to start watching Netflix, Hulu, etc., using my profile instead of hers just to annoy me. When I brought it up with her, she used my own words against me and told me that we're all sharing, right? Fine. Cue the revenge. My sister works at a credit card processing company and has to keep her phone in a locker while at work as a safeguard to prevent the employees from saving people's credit card information. I, on the other hand, work from home. So, for the entirety of 2022, I would open Spotify, turn my volume down, and play that god-awful Baby Shark song by Pinkfong on repeat. We're talking at least 4 times a day every workday, sometimes as many as 30 times. A few days ago, to my younger sister's dismay, Baby Shark was her #1 song for the year by a long shot. The #2 song wasn't even close. It had around a quarter of the listens Baby Shark did. Pinkfong was her #1 artist, too. She was definitely more upset than amused that I had rendered her Spotify Wrapped unshareable, but she did find some humor in it, and she appreciated my dedication. My older sister and I certainly found it hilarious. The best part, it sparked a conversation that ended with my younger sister and I essentially making a truce and agreeing to relax a bit and not intentionally annoy the other person.
That sounds sweet. And you were the last time. Maybe do you think so? Have the kids though. Give it a running money. Wow, it's supposed to bless the elder. Also, suddenly now you're my elder.